I want to address some certain issues that have come up about timeliness and warnings. I think what I want to stress more than anything with the public is that when officers are responding such an events like this, they immediately are trying to respond safely. Once they get there, they're trying to assess a situation. They need to identify immediate threats, both not only to themselves but other individuals in the immediate area. They have to triage injuries, render aid, and attempt to save lives. They need to obtain information from victims and witnesses. We need to be able to identify suspects and get that information from witnesses or victims themselves. But I want people to understand also, after doing all that, the first thing that the officers did was to put out information to all law enforcement officers in the center region, to include state police, a description of the individual, what had occurred, and to be on the lookout for him. One thing I want to also highlight is much of this information was already out on local TV or due to social media and people tweeting and what have you. By the time I arrived on scene, much of this information was out by 11 o'clock. I got to the scene probably 11:15, 11:20. If there's one thing I think we, or myself in particular as a police chief here, could have done better, it was to release information sooner that the threat had been eliminated. Unfortunately, you know, when you get caught up in this, we knew that there was no more threat to the public, and I wished if I could go back in hindsight and release that information sooner, that we could, so that the public wouldn't still be in a heightened state. So I take ownership for that. I want to make sure that you know that we were confident that there was no more threat to the community, but I take ownership for that. No immediate threats. There were no immediate threats to Penn State or its students. It was over before we could announce it or release any further information. And I would just like to say we relish our partnership with Penn State University, and we will continue to look for ways to improve our working relationships with them as we move forward, as we do with all of our partners.